would not fight. Four reasons are mentioned. First half, he is mentioning about the battlefield, Kauravas, Pandavas, the signs of victory, who's going to win. Dhritarashtra's question, why did they assemble? Because he was uncertain. He was not certain whether Pandavas will fight or not because of it being a holy place. And he was also not certain, he was uncertain regarding Duryodhana and party will win because it is being a holy place. If Pandavas fight, then they'll surely get defeated. And the later half of the part, Arjuna tells he cannot fight because he's a Vaishnava. He being a Vaishnava, he told that he cannot fight. Second reason was because of if he doesn't fight, then if he fights, then what will happen to the 1 minute? Yeah. So first reason he tells is that out of compassion, he tells that I cannot fight. And second reason he tells, if I fight and win, I will kill my own relatives. How will I enjoy? That's the second reason. Why I'm telling this five reasons, because that is based on that we are going to build our theme today. And the second reason he tells is enjoyment. If I kill my own relatives who are in Kaurava party, my Bhishma Pitama and everybody is there, how will I enjoy my life? That is second reason. Third reason he tells is that compassion, enjoyment, what will happen to family tradition? All the people of this family, all our rituals will get lost. That he tells, family tradition. And then there will be Varna Sankara, the offsprings which will come that will get spoiled. And fourth reason he tells is compassion, enjoyment, family tradition, and he becomes uncertain regarding why I should fight. Hmm? Sinful reaction, papam, that was the fourth reason, and then he becomes uncertain. So these five reasons are there, and this second chapter begins with the fifth reason. Arjuna tells Krishna tells him, Lord Krishna chastises Arjuna and disapproves his so-called compassion. And after telling the second, Sri Bhagavan says, Lord Sri Krishna says, we'll recite the shlokas for time being now. Shri Bhagavan Yuvacha Kutastvam Kashmalamidam Vishame Samupastitam Anaryam Justam Asvargyam Akirtim Karam Arjunaha. So this second shloka is of second chapter, where after giving four reasons, compassion is not valid because it is on a bodily platform. Enjoyment, you are thinking whether you'll enjoy or not, but these people are going have come to destroy you, they are come to kill you, they are aggressors, so therefore you cannot think of enjoying with such kind of relatives, you have to kill them. The third reason he told was sinful reactions you will get, but if some aggressors are killed, one doesn't get sin according to Niti Shastra and Artha Shastra. And the fourth reason it tells is that family traditions will get spoiled, and therefore he will not fight. But if he doesn't fight anyway, the impious kings who are there, they will not keep family tradition, everything will get lost. Fifth reason, before the fifth reason, after hearing the four reasons, Krishna chastises Arjuna that Kutasvam Kashmalvedam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, how have these impurities come upon you in this critical hour of crisis? You are about to fight. One thing we should all should understand that Arjuna was not fearful. He was not a weak link. Just before this in Mahabharata, we can see Arjuna alone was that one person in the Pandavas side whom Yudhishthira Maharaj and Bhima, everyone relied on. All the Kauravas were just fearful of two people in Pandavas. They were Bhima and Arjuna. But Bhima was known for fighting rawly. He didn't have any skill. He didn't have any weaponry skill. He did not know shastras, shastra. He did not know shastra, how to use shastras. He used to pick up stone, big trees. His strength was stronger, and therefore he was known for raw fighting. But Arjuna was skilled, especially when he was in 14 years of Vanvas, 13 years of Vanvas and 1 year of Adnyatvas. Arjuna had gathered many powerful weapons from Svargaloka. He got Pashupati Astra from Lord Shiva himself, especially when he was living the hermitage where Pandavas are staying. And for 1 year before the Virat Parva was, just before that, Arjuna had gone to the Gandharva Loka, and from there he had got to Svargaloka. While going through that path, he comes across a hunter, and there is a wild boar, and Arjuna also aims at it, and that hunter also aims at it, and simultaneously both of them hit that boar. And the hunter starts chastising Arjuna, telling that, this is my target. How dare you hit this target? Especially when two people are hunting Kshatriyas, if another person hunts, it's like an insult for the first person. And therefore he picks up a quarrel with Arjuna. He starts quarreling with Arjuna. He starts fighting with Arjuna. And then as soon as Arjuna starts fighting with him, he uses all his weapons, and that person also starts using his weapons. And he's simply a hunter. And Arjuna sees that this person is very, very powerful, very powerful. And Arjuna starts fighting with him. Everything happens, all the weapons gets extinguished, and later on they come to fist fight. And after, at some point of time, that opposite hunter starts pressing Arjuna under his hands, and Arjuna becomes unconscious. Meanwhile, Arjuna does what? Meanwhile, Arjuna sees, uh, makes a linga of Lord Shiva there, and immediately offers the flower, because he gets a doubt, who is this person who has come? This is a place of Kuvera Loka, and Kuvera is generally a devotee of Lord Shiva, and therefore this is also the region where Lord Shiva stays along with his associates. Might be have trespassed Lord Shiva's territory, and therefore he's upset and he might be Shiva. But let me check, let me test whether he is. And immediately he makes a Shiva Linga there and offers a flower garland on that Shivalinga. And then he turns back and sees that hunter's neck also there's a flower. And immediately Arjuna exposes that hunter and tells, you are Lord Shiva, Vaishnavanam yata Shambhu, Nimna Gana yata Ganga, Devanam Achyuta yata, Puranam Bhagavata yata, Vaishnavanam yata Shambhu. Like of all the rivers, Ganga is the most powerful and the greatest. Of all the gods, Achyuta, Lord Achyuta, infallible Lord Hari, is the greatest. And of all Puranas, Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest. And similarly, of all devotees of Lord Hari, Lord Shiva is the most famous. Therefore, you are the topmost of Vaishnava. But I am approaching Svargaloka because I have to go there and help Indra to defeat the Nivat Kavachas. And meanwhile, I have to come back and help my brother. So kindly give me your permission to ascend higher. And immediately, Lord, that hunter changes into a Lord. He takes his original form. He takes Lord Shiva's form, and seeing Arjuna's service need, he becomes very pleased with Arjuna, because Lord Shiva is also a very powerful personality, and he also sometimes wants to fight. But who can fight with Lord Shiva? Nobody can fight. Or even if somebody fights, then they'll get defeated. But here is a personality, Nara, who is always with Narayana. In Satyuga, Arjuna comes as Nara, and Lord Krishna comes as Narayan. So he's associate, eternal associate of Lord Krishna, and he could only please Lord Shiva with his fight. At that time, Lord Shiva blesses Arjuna with Pashupati Astra, and later on, once he receives that Pashupati Astra, Arjuna ascends from there ahead. He goes to Indraloka. After going to Indraloka, with the help of Chitra Gandharva there, he combats with him. He makes a team with him and goes and defeats the Nivat Kavachas in the Subterranean planets. After winning there, he gets blessing of, he also gets many benedictions from Indra. And along with that, meanwhile in the assembly, there is also a heavenly damsel called Zurvashi. And Indra becomes very glad and tells, my son has come, so please go and delight him. And especially in heaven, like compared to the earthly planet, like here, what we are staying, the conduct is little different there. It's like when we hear this description of heaven from Puranas or from Vedic literature, it's not the way we enjoy in the material world. Even all the demigods, they don't eat non-vegetarian. They strictly eat everything made in ghee. That is a policy there. They're in pure goodness. So in Svargaloka and above, people are in goodness, Sattva-guna. In Bhuloka, where we are staying, people are in passion and ignorance. And lower subterranean planets in Patala and Rasatala, where Asuras stay, they are in Tamoguna. There is no light at all. And more of this discussion we'll get to know later. But what I'm trying to tell you is here, on request of Indra, Urvashi comes to Arjuna and tells, "You are a great warrior and you have been glancing at me in the assembly, and therefore Indra has hinted me that, please go and delight Arjuna." And that time Arjuna thinks, when he was glancing at Urvashi, that time Arjuna is thinking about, I am coming in a particular Vamsha, and in that Vamsha, there is a king named Pururava in Satyuga. And that Pururava wife happened to be Urvashi. And therefore, Arjuna is saying, here is my great, 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 great grandfather's wife, Urvashi. And I've heard that she was in assembly of Indra, and I got to take her darshan. So when Urvashi approaches him, and Arjuna tells the same thing, I was just glancing at you, not with the mood of enjoyment, but I was seeing you like my ancestor, like my own great, 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 great grandmother. But unfortunately, Urvashi was in heaven and she was very young. She felt very, very embarrassed and insulted. And she, when a woman anywhere approaches a man for enjoyment or to get married, when a man rejects her, it's considered an offense or insult for that man. Therefore, we can see in the same Mahabharata, when Bhishma is approached by Ambika, Ambalika, and those three queens, one of the queen had an affair with some other king before that. Therefore, Bhishma sends her back. But the two queens who were there, they wanted to get married with Bhishma only. But Bhishma had taken them on behalf of his younger brother. But then he doesn't entertain them. Then finally, one of them is behind Bhishma that you have touched me, now nobody is ready to get married with me. You should marry me. All this that happens, and that time Bhishma tells that I have taken a vrata, that I've given a promise to my father that I cannot marry anyone because my once when one fisherman wanted to give her, my father was Shantanu was attracted to fisherman's daughter, and he wanted to get married with her. But later on, that father raised the question that if Bhishma gets married, then how my daughter's son will become a king, and therefore Bhishma should not marry. If Bhishma doesn't marry, then I can give my daughter Satyavati in marriage to you. And as soon as Bhishma gets to know that his father is in two minds whether to get married to Satyavati or not, that time Bhishma takes a vow. His name is Devvrat. Before that, his name is Devvrat. And that time Bhishma takes a vow that I am going to remain lifelong celibate. I'm not going to marry. But I'll make sure I'll protect the throne of Hastinapur. And that time, all the demigods they start playing kettle drums and start showering flowers. It's a great vow, Bhishma Pratigya, and therefore his name becomes Bhishma. So similarly, when Arjuna comes to this abode of Indra, when he sees Urvashi, then he tells, I just came here and just wanted to see you. And as such, uh, because of some reason, 1 year I've taken a vow of celibacy. I can't associate with any woman, but still you are like my mother. Therefore, I respect from far. But meanwhile, Urvashi was in no mood to hear, and she felt offended and she felt disgraced, and she curses Arjuna because you are a Kshatriya or a potent man, but you are not delighting a woman who has come to your rescue. Therefore, I curse you that for 1 year you have to become a eunuch. 1 साल के लिए आपको नपुंसक बनना पड़ेगा. So that also becomes it's a curse basically to Arjuna. But because he's a devotee, the curse also turns into blessing. Curse also difficulties and trials and tribulations which come in devotee's life. Many times, many people ask that we are practicing Krishna consciousness, but why we have to suffer? हम भक्ति कर रहे हैं लेकिन इतना क्यों हमको परेशानी भुगतना पड़ रहा है? So right now COVID is going on and even devotees are getting affected by COVID and they are also leaving their bodies. So how to see it? How not to see it? So Krishna should protect devotees and this and that. And if you read Bhagavad Gita, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, it's all full of stories of devotees who are across crisis, who are put into difficulties, who are put into trials and tribulations. Therefore, by practicing bhakti, once one who starts seeking the shelter of Krishna, it doesn't mean that difficulties will not come in your life. It's not that trials and tribulations will not come in your life. Like Arjuna, I know, had a comeback with Lord Shiva, and therefore he got a garland around his neck, and then he got Pashupati Astra. Therefore, he had to struggle there. It was a good struggle. And when he went to Indra's planet, and from there he went to subterranean planets, There he had to fight with Nivata Kavachas, and therefore that also was wonderful because he got many astras from Indra also, celestial astras. And but at some point of time, while executing his service, he had to face this kind of terrible thing also. For somebody like great warrior like Arjuna to get such a curse like becoming a eunuch for 1 full year, it's really embarrassing. But Arjuna is very, very positive minded because of being a devotee. He knows anything is going to happen in my life, it is because of orchestration of Krishna. And he's having such thought process that because I have born from such a great mother like Kunti and father like Pandu, I cannot commit any sinful activities. And if I protect Dharma, Dharma will protect me. Therefore, this is a test. While standing by dharmic principles, sometimes we will have to become sorry. We'll have to cut a sorry figure in front of those people who don't understand its principles. But still, if you stand by Dharma, Dharma will protect you. Dharma rakshita rakshitaha. And therefore, when Arjuna was cursed like this, and he amassed a lot of weapons from there, and when he came down back to the earthly planet, and when he had to go in incognito for 1 year, and they have Yudhishthir along with his brothers, they entered into Virat Desh, and there the king Virat Raj was there, and then all of them took all these great weapons. When Arjuna came back from the heaven and he had Pashupati Astra and different astras of Vayu and Agni and different things, in Yudhishthir became very, very curious. Yudhishthir wanted to see that how was your trip to different planets, different planetary positions in this whole same universe, and how many weapons have you amassed? The Yudhishthir asks it. All the sages around also they gather around the hermitage of the Pandavas, and that time Arjuna displays. He starts uttering. He just takes uh, water and does Achman, and he starts uttering different mantras. And he starts uttering different mantras. A particular Pashupati mantra he utters, and that time the personality who fights when Shiva pulls an arrow with mantra, that personality comes and stands right side of Arjuna. And when he utters Agneya weapon, that personality who fights standing next to Arjuna, he comes and stands next to Arjuna to display his power. And after that, when Indra had given him a weapon, and he recites a particular mantra to display his weaponry to Yudhishthira Maharaj, because Yudhishthira Maharaj is very eager. 13 years are over, only 1 year is remaining, and after 1 year we have to go and fight the battle. And what has to be done next? And that time he invokes uh, a weapon of given by the Chitrata Gandharva and the celestial weapon where he had amassed in Gandharva Kuvera's place. And each mantra he recites, and each weapon takes a form of a powerful fighter and comes and stands left side and right side of Arjuna. And he takes his Gandiva, and he just Gandiva is a weapon which he had got when he was along with Lord Krishna. He was trying to devour that Kandoprastha forest because Agni wanted to eat it, but Indra was supporting one of the Asura there who was his friend. And that time Agni comes and gives the Sudarshan Chakra to Krishna, and Agni comes and gives Gandiva bow to Arjuna. And when he ties that Gandiva bow and just vibrates it, the whole earth starts shaking. And when the Yudhishthira sees all this display of Arjuna's weaponry, he is like convinced. That's it. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanurjar, Tatra Shriya Vijay Bhutir Dhruv Nitir. He gets convinced. Now, if Arjuna is on my side, then there is no worries of defeat. But only one thing is there. Now we have to get into Virata Parva. We have to go into incognito. Now 13th year is getting over. 14th year, 1 full year from 13 to 14 years, we have to go into incognito. And then Yudhishthira tells to Arjuna and Bhima and Nakul and Sahadev and Draupadi. So the best place for this is after consulting Dhaumya, who is their family advisor, a Purohita. He tells Virat Desh is very near and he's a very pious king. It's better that all of us go and take shelter there. So before entering into Virata Desh, there is a people tree. And what Arjuna, all the weapons which he had got from all these different celestial personalities, from Nagaloka, from Agni and Vayu and Indra, and then Lord Shiva himself. All of them, what the weapons they had got, everything is amassed and tied in a white cloth, and they see a dead body lying nearby. They put a dead body in it, and Bhima takes it up and ties that, because when dead body is tied, then nobody will come to that place because it's stinking very heavily, and nobody should steal that weapon. Therefore, they make such, and they go to a very secluded place which is not much visited, which is a little bit empty. And when they do this, after that, all of them change their identities, and they approach Virata king, and they start staying there. And that time, Arjuna got a curse from Urvashi, because Urvashi had approached him and Arjuna declined it, because coming in the earthly planet, Urvashi was the wife of Pururava, his great 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 ancestor. And that curse which Urvashi had given to Arjuna, because that he will become a eunuch for 1 year, which was really a curse for Arjuna, that Arjuna activated in the Virat Parva, and he became a eunuch for 1 year, and he turned himself as Brahmanalla. And nobody could identify that Arjuna. So he dressed himself like a dance teacher and approached Virata king. And then Virata's king had a daughter, princess. Her name is Uttara. And he, Virata king, employed Arjuna as a dance teacher for Uttara. And Uttara's brother was Uttam. And then Bhima, he dressed himself like a cook, and he started cooking in Virata's kitchen, royal kitchen. And Yudhishthir, he became a minister in Virata's assembly. And Nakul and Sahadev, they are well known for javelin throw, and Nakul was well known for, Sahadev was well known for javelin and other things, and Nakul was well known for taking care of horses. Nakul was well known for taking care of horses, and Sahadev was well known for taking care of cows. So they start taking the department and they start serving. And at the end of the day, Bhima used to collect all the royal food and used to call all of them, and they used to have feast at the end of the night. And meanwhile, I was doing like this. Whole year passed off, but just before end of whole year, somehow or the other, Duryodhana gets a hint that because Duryodhana is upstart, and he knows if we are able to discover the Pandavas and party within 1 year, they again have to go for next 13 years. And he thought, I'll keep on doing this cyclic every 13 years. That with that intention, Shakuni and Duryodhana had sent Pandavas into Vanvas. So Duryodhana was trying his best to figure out where these Pandavas are there, where in this world they are sitting. Have they gone to Patal Loka, where they have gone? And at just because 1 week before the whole thing, somehow they, because due to some of the messengers, they discover that it seems that Pandavas are in Virata's kingdom, and they make a plot that Virat kingdom was known for a lot of cows and horses, and they wanted to attack that Virata's kingdom, because Virat king was under the Hastinapur king, but he had given shelter to their enemies. Therefore, they wanted to uh, find them out and show to the whole world that these Pandavas are taking shelter here, and they wanted to send them back. Therefore, he attacks. So, who comes in the attacking party? Bhishma Pitama, who had fought with Parshuram, and Parshuram lost. Parshuram told, okay, I cannot fight him with him anymore, because basically Parshuram told him, okay, that's it. It became a draw. And then there was Dronacharya, and there was Kripacharya, there was Karna, and there were Duryodhana, there was Ashwatthama, all the Kaurava kings, everybody comes to the southern part of Virata's kingdom. And from there, they start attacking the place where there is Goshala and horses and other things. And meanwhile, the Virata king with his whole army, seeing that we are just a small tiny kingdom and the whole Kaurava kingdom has come to attack us with all his whole army, except some, he leaves some Sena for protecting all the whole inner chambers of the queens and other things. And his son Uttam is there, and Brahmanalla is there, and Draupadi is there. Even Bhima and Yudhishthir and everybody is in that army, and they're gone to protect there. And Arjuna is just giving his dance teaching and other things. And then after some time, they get to hear that The other team has come from north side, and there is no one to fight. And Arjuna sees a calendar. It's almost 13 years are over, and it's just 1 hour left for 14th year to get over. And when you see the crisis in the assembly of Virata kingdom, where only princes and queens, they're all crying, and they're trying to tell, okay, whole kingdom has come and everybody has gone there. Now this another kingdom is coming from the south gate. Who will fight them? And then small Uttam, who just 10, 12 years old, he tells, I'll face them, and he's trying to boast there. And but then his elder sister Uttara asks, but you will fight, but who will become your charioteer? There's no one. And that time, Brahananda comes forward, telling that I will become his charioteer. And this Uttam starts laughing at Brahananda. You eunuch, you'll become my charioteer. But who is left? I have tried to fight. So Uttam, along with Brahananda becomes a charioteer, and Uttam stands behind. And Uttam starts boasting, I'll go and defeat them. All their gold, all their bring and give it back to all of you, and all those things he starts telling. Meanwhile, when the south gate opens and his chariot starts going front, and Branala is riding for the first time an ocean of Kauravas army, and he starts shouting at Arjuna, "Stop! Stop! Stop!" And Branala, sorry, and Branala is going full vigor ahead. And that time, when they come and they see, they take a U, seeing that Uttam has become very fearful. Then he told, "At least you heard me, Branala. At least you heard me. Otherwise, how will I face this huge ocean of army of Kauravas? I had never seen them, but just by seeing them, I'm becoming fearful. How will I be able to face them?" Then meanwhile, Branala takes a U-turn and goes to that same tree where they had hidden their weapons, which Arjuna had got it from the celestial plane. And Brunella jumps from the chariot and starts climbing. Then Uttam starts asking, "What you're doing? Arey, they are waiting there. If you don't go early, then they'll come and all my mother and my sisters will be attacked by this cruel army." Then Brunella tells, he sees a time and it's almost like 10 minutes left for the year to get over. And he tells Uttam that, "You know who am I? I'm Arjuna." Then Uttam starts laughing. "What? You are you are not Arjuna." Then he tells, "Okay, tell me what are the 8 names of Arjuna." And starts saying different names, all names he tells. That is what is mentioned in Mahabharata. And after that, Branla climbs to the tree, and she releases all the weapons. And that time Branala holds that Pashupati Astra, and he just invokes that mantra and shows him, "This is Pashupati Astra, this is Agni Astra, this is Varuna Astra, and this is Nagaloka Astra," and different, and he puts everything in Gandiva, takes and strings it. As soon as Arjuna strings the Gandiva and shows Uttam the vibration, immediately the whole earth starts shaking, that battlefield where the whole ground was there. Immediately Duryodhana turns to Bhishma and Drona and tells, "This is none other than Arjuna. We have caught him." And meanwhile, Bhishma tells, "For your information, 14 years are over 5 minutes back." And that time, but whatever it is, you have come to fight now. Let's see how he will protect. At least if you're not able to expose him and send him back again for the Vanvas, at least we'll try to defeat this kingdom and we'll try to teach them a lesson. And that time Bhishma tells it's not so easy, because Arjuna for 14 years he has traveled to different places and accumulated all the celestial weapons, and let's see who can face whom, whether he is going to defeat us or we are going to defeat him. And meanwhile, Arjuna tells Uttam, "You ride the chariot and I will sit behind." And with all his weapons, with all his Gandiva, starts 3 weapons he sends at the feet, 2 weapons he sends at the feet of Dronacharya, his martial art guru, and Bhishma Pitama, his great grandfather. And that's it. After that, 2 namaskaram which he offered to both of their feet, then he starts invoking all the mantras and all the celestial personalities with their weapon. He starts with all those weapons, with 1 into 1,000, 1,000 into million, starts attacking the soldiers of the Kaurava party. And within some time, the first plot is over. And then Karna tells, I will try to fight with him. And Arjuna, in one blow, Karna is knocked off. His chariot is broken and Karna falls off unconscious. And then Kripa comes ahead. Then Arjuna takes another weapon of Agni and then he defeats Kripa also. Then Dronacharya comes ahead and Dronacharya is also defeated. And Bhishma comes ahead and Bhishma is also defeated with the Pashupati Astra. And then Duryodhana is left. And before Duryodhana could lift his bow, Arjuna fights 5 arrows and that goes into 5 fingers of Duryodhana, and Duryodhana is, that's it. Within 1 hour, the whole Kauravas army is completely defeated by single Arjuna. Not even Yudhishthir, not even Bhima, not even Nakula, and not even Sahadev. And after that, he tells Uttam, he has promised to all your sisters and all your mothers, go and collect the booty, go and collect all these gold and other things, so helmets of all these personalities, and he collects everything and comes back. And then Virata comes to know that, my lord, for 1 year, these personalities of Pandavas who are personification of Dharma, Yudhishthir, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakul, and Sahadev, I've just kept them as slaves in my kingdom. And to that extent that my brother-in-law wanted to even uh, enjoy Draupadi, and he was killed by Bhima. And I was able to punish Bhima for that reason. And he starts asking forgiveness and tells Arjuna, although you have been staying as a dance teacher for my daughter Uttara, now it's your duty that because you have stayed with her, you have taught her. Therefore, you please accept, because you're such a great warrior. Anyone would like to have Arjuna as a son-in-law for her daughter. So Virata King tells that you please accept my daughter Uttara as your wife. That time Arjuna tells, because I'm her teacher. I have trained her in this Bharatanatyam, and as a teacher, I cannot marry her. That was the principle of Arjuna. He was competent as a Kshatriya. He was having a character where he's telling that, I have taught her, I cannot marry her. And I've all throughout 1 year, I never saw her with a mode of enjoyment, but just seeing her as my own daughter. And therefore, my son, Abhimanyu, can get married with her. And therefore, then Abhimanyu and Uttara get married. And he had character, he had competence, and he had devotion. He was devotee of Lord Krishna. And therefore, this is a unique combination which every personality should have to be successful in his life. He should have a character. He just respected Urvashi as his own great grandmother, and even at the request, he stood by the Dharma of not accepting her invitation, and he got cursed. That curse became a blessing, and he could go whole incognito. He could go 1 year in incognito without any distress. He had a character, he had competent, he got all the weapons, and he had devotion to Lord Krishna. And therefore, Krishna gave Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. And we can see after this, in this present section, where we are seeing now, this is the glory of Arjuna, because without knowing the glories of Arjuna, what Arjuna stands for, if you understand these concepts of what is happening in this whole Bhagavad Gita, will be difficult to appreciate for us, because Arjuna was a very ambitious personality. Being ambitious, he was competent, he had character, and he had devotion, and he had culture. And now that is what now Krishna is telling him at the end, at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, second chapter. What is that? He's giving 5 reasons that how can I kill my own relatives? Compassion. How can I enjoy without being sharing my kingdom with them? Sin will take over me, and what will happen to the family tradition? What will happen to all my sisters and daughters and everyone, mothers? What will happen to them? And fifth reason, before telling the fifth reason, indecision, that he is not able to decide. Krishna tells him a very, very powerful chastisement. You are telling like a fool, Kutastvam Kashmalamidam Vishame Sampasitam Anaryam Jushtum Aswargyam Anaryam Jushtum Aswargyam Akirtim Karam Arjuna. Arjuna, and then he tells Klaibyam Masma Gama Partha Naitai Tvayi Upapadyate Shudram Hridaya Darubalyam Tyaktvo Tishta Parantapa. This weakness of heart, that you are not ready to fight because of giving these 5 reasons based on Dharma Shastra and Artha Shastra, this will cause you infamy. Do you know why this Arjuna tells this second shloka of second chapter? To tell him you had defeated all these personalities long back. You are known for being a powerful warrior all throughout not only this earth planet but all throughout the universe. You are known, glorified, and even Lord Shiva delighted in fighting with you. And if you don't fulfill your duty of fighting, what will happen to your kirti? And that is what we see in the next coming subsequent shlokas, that from section 10, second 10th shloka, what the 30th shloka we are going to see today. In that 30th shloka, Krishna is telling about the knowledge of the soul. how we are not the body, we are spirit, soul. And then he quotes different shlokas. I think I'll just recite these different shlokas for all of your. This is a very nice habit of always reciting shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. And I'll recite shlokas from 11th chapter onwards, 11th shloka onwards. Asochyana mano anvasochyastvam prajnavadam shabashashe gatasun sochanta pandita. You are mourning for what is not worthy of grief while speaking learned words. The wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. नत्वेवां जातुनाशं नत्वं नेमे जनाधिपा न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे वयमतः परम्. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any one of us cease to be. देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरस्प्राप्तिर्धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति. Change of body is natural, therefore don't get worried. This embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age. Soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Then what we should do to become sober? Tolerate the material difficulties and crises. What is that shloka? Matra sparshastu kaunteya sita ushna sukha dukkada agama payino nityastam satikshasva bharata. O son of Kunti, senses experiencing the sense objects produce sensations of cold and heat, winter and summer, happiness and distress. Therefore, their appearance and disappearance are non-permanent. One must learn to tolerate them, Ocean of Bharata. So one should do duty. Equanimity is eligibility. If we have equanimity in happiness and distress and we continue with our duty, then we become qualified for liberation. Yam hi na vetita eta purusham purusha rashaba sama dukkha sukam dhairam sa amrutatvaya kalpate. He becomes qualified for getting amrutatvaya kalpate. And then what? What the Tattvadarshi says? Na shato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate satha ubayorapi drishtantastva anayo sattvadarshibhihi. The knowers of truth has seen that of this body there is no permanency and of the soul there is no destruction. Antavatta ime deha nityashokta sharirina anasino prameyasya tasmaduddhasva bharata. So material body is perishable, embodied soul is eternal. The soul is indestructible and immeasurable. Therefore, fight to descendant of Bharata. The soul doesn't get killed. The soul doesn't kill or get killed. Na jayate mriyate ve kadachin ayam bhutva bhavitavana bhuya ajo nitya shashvato yam purano hana hanyate hanyamane sharire. This is 20th shloka. The soul has neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not killed when the body is killed. So one thing we should understand: the body which is there, the designation is for the body, but a soul, the soul is having no designation. The soul is equal. Therefore, when we start practicing bhakti, we transcend the bodily condition and we rise to the equality of the soul. How body changing body, once one takes up a body birth and gives up at death, that Krishna compares that to changing body similar to changing clothes. Vasam chijirnani yata vihaya navani granati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. As a person gives up old garments and accepts new garments, the soul similarly gives up old and useless bodies and attains new bodies. Eternal soul. Soul eternal, body is not eternal. Nainam chindanti shastrani cannot be cut by weapons. Nainam dahati pavaka cannot be burnt by fire. Na chainam kledyantapo cannot be moistened by water. Na sorshyati marutaha cannot be withered by wind. Achedyoyam adayoyam is unbreakable and cannot be burnt. Akledo soshya evacha is insoluble and cannot be dried. Nitya sarvagatar stanur is everlasting, exists everywhere and unchangeable. Achaloyam sanatanaha is immovable and eternally the same. Avyaktoyam achintoyam is imperceptible and inconceivable. Avikaryoyam uchyate is immutable or without changes. Tasmadevam viditvainam, knowing it to be thus, nanu shoshanti arasi, should not grieve for the body. This is what we have got in the last section, 25 shlokas. And then he concludes that some people don't believe that soul exists. According to them, body is born and then dies. That's it. So why you worry? Why you have to go by moral principle? That's it. Everything is going to get over. So till the time you are alive, just eat, drink, and be merry. So Arjuna tells, Krishna tells that principle in 26th verse. That there are some people who don't believe in soul. But again, he comes back to 27th shloka and tells, Jatasya dhruvar mityur dhruvam janmam ratisya cha tasmad apariyarvete Natvam sochitam arhasi. One who's born is sure to die, and we take birth because of karma. And after that, one is sure to take birth again. And after dying, again we take birth. Both are unavoidable. Therefore, in doing your duty, you should not lament. What will happen by avoiding his duty? Arjuna would not be able to stop the death of his relatives, because anyway, if he doesn't kill them right now, they are on the side of adharma. By natural death, they will die. And but he would be degraded to his selection of wrong path of action. And therefore, birth is combination of Atma with senses and mind. Death is separation of the Atma from the body. So anyway, this is a natural activity, so Arjuna should not hesitate from fighting. That he tells in 27th shloka. And at 28th shloka, he tells about all living beings invisible in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, invisible again when destroyed. There are two kinds of people who tell that Sankhya, that when soul is not visible, when it is not born, still there is gross and subtle body with it because of karma. And some people are called as drishti srishtivad. Although we have a body, like atheistic people, they tell that there is no soul and other things. For both of them, uh, thus whether one believes in the existence of the soul or not, there is no need to lament for the loss of the body. That means for them, it's a body simply a bunch. Therefore, even if it goes, how it, even if Arjuna kills them, how it's going to matter. And for those who exist in soul, believe in soul, and that he's going to get a next life. Anyway, he's going to die. So next life will be a glorious life. Therefore, after telling this Atma Tattva, he tells that this soul, Arjuna, Krishna tells to Arjuna that soul is very amazing. आचार्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिद् एनम् आश्चर्यवत् वदति तथैव चान्य आश्चर्यवच्चैनम् अन्य शृणोति श्रुत्वापि एनं वेद न चैव कश्चित्. Some see the soul as amazing, some describe the soul as amazing, some hear of the soul as amazing, others even after hearing cannot know it. Soul is astonishing. Though the soul is atomic, it exists and spreads throughout the bodies of gigantic and microbic entities. Yet it is untouched by bodily changes, many such contradictory qualities. Soul is truly astonishing. So Krishna concludes this section of Jnana. This concludes the Dhyana section, that you are not the body, you are soul. The concepts of soul in the 30th shloka, that is, the soul that dwells in the body can never be killed, O descendant of Bharata. Therefore, you need not lament. I'll just show the shloka now for all of you, because already till now we had discussed everything. So right now, today onwards, we are just beginning that shloka, and we'll conclude with this one. I think we have some 10 minutes left. 2.30. I'll just share it for all. Vikram bro, can you allow me to share the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So conclusion: soul that dwells in the body can never be killed. Avadya, or descendant of Bharata.
You can share now, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Yes, this is a shloka. I think all of you are able to see. देहि नित्यम अवद्योयम देहे सर्वस्य भारत तस्मात् सर्वाणि भूतानि नात्वं शोचितुम् अर्हसि. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you did not grieve for any living beings. The Lord now concludes the chapter of the instruction on the immutable spirit soul, that is Jnana Yoga, that is the knowledge of the soul. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Krishna establishes that soul is immortal and the body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna as a Kshatriya should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather and teacher Bhishma and Drona will die in the battle. On the authority of Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body, not that there is no such thing as soul, or that living symptom develops at a certain stage of material maturity resulting from the interaction of chemicals. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged, but at the time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actual need for it. That need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord and not capriciously. That means we should not whimsically act in our day-to-day life. It should be based on the Vedic literature, sanction of the Lord. Therefore, we have now concluded. I think last week Vikram Prabhu concluded 29 shloka. So I just gave the sum up so that all of you can understand where we are heading to. So 5 reasons were given. Just before the 5th reason, Arjuna chastises Krishna. Krishna chastises Arjuna that you have been such a glorious warrior and you are born to fight. You have defeated already the whole of the Kaurava army once in Virat Parva. Then it doesn't give you any glory. For a person whose honor, dishonor is worse than death, it will give a kirti karam Arjuna. And therefore, he starts the next section. So far, Krishna explained the science of soul, Atmanyan, to induce Arjuna to fight. So he gave a backing that you are not the body or Atma, and anyway, Atma will continue to exist. And because people on the Adharma side, they have to be killed, so should not hesitate. To back up, along with that, he gives him a very some positive benefit of what will happen. To produce steadiness in this knowledge, now Krishna speaks lesser principles that promise material benefits by performing action with personal desire. So this section from 31st shloka is called as Sakama Karma Yoga. And in the following section, what is told is by fighting, Arjuna reasoned earlier that there will be no enjoyment even if he emerges victorious. 31, first chapter, 31st and 35th shloka. So Krishna says that if Arjuna performs his dharma of fighting, there will be enjoyment both in victory or in loss, in earth or heaven. He also discusses the problem in abandoning such duty to fight. This process is called Sakama Karma or Karma Kanda, performing Vedic rituals for fruitive results. So in 31st, he tells that duty. As a Kshatriya, it's your duty to fight. Sarvadharma napi chavekshe na vikampitum arhasi dharmyadi yuddhyacheyonyat kshatriyas na vidyate. So he's telling, okay, fine, no issue. Sarvadharman api chavekshe na vikampitum arhasi dharmyadi yuddhyachreyo nyat kshatriyas na vidyate. So Krishna is telling to Arjuna, considering your specific duty as Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles. So there is no need for hesitation. And therefore, according to different Varna and Ashrama, Prabhupada writes here, Kshatriya means Trayate, to give protection for one who is taking shelter. Example of tiger is giving when a tiger comes into the kingdom, and it's a duty of a Kshatriya king to kill the tiger. So similarly, it's a duty of a Kshatriya not to give up everything and renounce everything while there is a war. And therefore, non-violence is in politics may be diplomacy, but it is never a factor of principle. The religious law book it is stated that okay, we'll go in the battlefield. The king or Kshatriya, while fighting another king envious of him, is eligible for achieving heavenly planets after death, as the Brahmanas also attain the heavenly planets by sacrificing animals in the fire sacrifice. Therefore, killing on the battlefield on the religious principle and killing animals sacrifice fire are not at all considered to be acts of violence because everyone is benefited by the religious principles involved. And that is what Prabhupada is trying to tell here is according to Kshatriya, it's a Swadharma to fight. If they fight and they win, then they enjoy on the earth. If they fight and they die, they ascend to the Svargaloka where Indra resides there. And therefore, the next shloka in 32, what will happen to a person who fights? Either he kills or he gets killed. What will happen to him? Yadrichya chopapa pannam swargadvaram apavrutam sukina kshatriya partha labante yuddham idrisham. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of heavenly planets. So, what happens is when a soldier fights in the battle, it is told that after his death, if he gets killed by the opponent party, if he dies, he ascends to heaven. If he doesn't die but he kills another person, he wins, then he enjoys the earthly planet. So, there is never a loss. That is what being told here. That destination for a person who fights and gets killed, he goes to heaven. So even if you get killed, you will go to heaven. Even if your relatives get killed, they will go to heaven. It's a promotion. Why you're worrying? So fight. Considering all respects, Arjuna had no reason to refrain from fighting. If he could conquer his enemies, he could enjoy the kingdom. And if he should die in the battle, he would be elevated to the heavenly planets whose doors were wide open to him. Fighting would be for his benefit in their case. Both reason. If you fight and win, you'll enjoy the kingdom. If you fight and die, you'll go to heaven. In both the cases, both the parties, there is glory for them. So why he should not fight? That is Arjuna is giving the second reason. Yes, now this is what I was sharing today, the story from this purport. Arjuna was a famous fighter and he attained fame by fighting many great demigods, including even Lord Shiva. After fighting and defeating Lord Shiva in the dress of a hunter, Arjuna pleased the Lord and received a reward, a weapon called Pashupatastra. Everyone knew that he was a great warrior. Even Dronacharya gave him benedictions and awarded him the special weapon by which he could kill even his teacher. So he was credited with so many military certificates from many authorities, including his adopted father Indra, the heavenly king. But if he abandoned the battle, not only would he neglect his specific duty as Kshatriya, but he would lose all his fame and good name and thus prepare his royal route to hell. In other words, he would go to hell not by fighting, but by withdrawing from battle. That is what is being spoken here. That means if he doesn't fight, sin and infamy. And what will happen to him again? 35 to 36 speaks about it. Infamy. Here it is being spoken. 34th is infamy. Akirtim chapi bhutani कथयिष्यन्ति ते वयं संभवत् संभवितस्य च कीर्तिर मरणाद अतिरिच्यते. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Both as a friend and a philosopher to Arjuna, Lord Krishna now gives his final judgment regarding Arjuna's refusal to fight. Lord says, Arjuna, if you leave the battlefield before the battle even begins, people will call you a coward. And if you think that people may call you bad names, but that you will save your life by fleeing the battlefield, then my advice is that you would do better to die in the battle. For a respectable man like you, ill fame is worse than death. So you should not flee for fear of your life, better to die in the battle. That will save you from the ill fame of misusing my friendship and from losing your prestige in society. So the final judgment of Lord was for Arjuna to die in the battle and not withdraw. But again, Krishna is just telling him that he knew Arjuna was very powerful. Previously, Arjuna defeated everyone, but Krishna is just giving him a hint that now you are in this condition, you are not able to understand what will the consequences. Okay, so then concluding next 35 and 36, we'll be taking in the next sitting. This ends with the 35, 36, 37 ends with the Sakama Karma Yoga, and from 38, 38 Nishkama Karma Yoga starts. So I think already we have 3 minutes left. If you have any questions, you can put forward, or we'll try to conclude. Anybody have any questions? So shall we end now? Hope this was understandable for all of you, what we discussed today. Second chapter onwards, first till 10, what was Jnana section, where we have the soul, and from 38 to 37, which we will be discussing now, that will be regarding Sakama Karma Yoga. Yes, Naveen, you want to ask something?
No, Prabhu. If you can come more frequently, it will be more nice.
Okay, no issues. I'll try to come as frequently as possible.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So, but at least this till now, the flow is very clear, na? From first chapter till now, 30th, what we are
Yes,
discussing.
Prabhu. Today it was good that we have revised all the previous chapters. Once in a while, if we do this, will become more. The foundation will be more strong.
Yeah. So there are only 2 sections which you have covered till now: the Jnana section and fifth reason. Now we just touched the third part, that is Sakama Karma Yoga. Okay, we will conclude the session with one round of chanting Hare Krishna, or you want to do it in the evening? You have been doing it in the morning or in the evening? The same with everyone.
We are doing in evening, Prabhu.
Okay. Then you can do. I think Vikram Prabhu will lead in that, and you can do in that. Okay. So all of you,
if anyone wants to do it now also, yeah, it's fine. Up to the group. But just to answer your question, yeah, we are doing in the evening. Mostly.
Okay, then no issue. Then Vikram will take all of your chanting session. Because right now the pandemic is going on. Like I was telling about, whether we do dharma, whether we do adharma, the nature of the world is such that things will come against us. We can't stop this world. This world is like an ocean, and ocean is always going to be. It's like if you are in ocean, if you're on a ship, it's going to rock. So, but what will happen is that at least you will have the understanding in ocean is going to rock, and therefore you have to prepare to tightly tie our boat. Similarly, bhakti is like the getting firmly foundation in this principle that as soul, nothing can happen to me. It makes us fearless. And meanwhile, as a soul, what is the duty I can do? I can take a bhakti and continue. And our body, our bhakti process is like a pot, and you should keep on adding the sukruti in it. Like the crow was there, and the water was at that level, and the crow came and took one stone and put it. It was putting the stone inside the pot, and the water level was rising. So similarly, um, if our bhakti level rises in the full pot, and that time again we don't have to accept the body. We accept body because of prarabdha karma. But if we can practice bhakti, understand this principle, align with the Lord, accept the Lord, align with the Lord, act for His pleasure, act on His behalf, then we can rise beyond this, and we don't have to accept another body. And if you don't accept another body, this world is a place of misery. Dukkalayam ashashvatam, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, it's full of misery, and He certified it. Therefore, we can see right now the whole world is experiencing it. So only shelter for us is that we accept this Bhagavad principle and apply it sincerely and try to live according to it despite odds and any consequences. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, just last set of words from my side. So thank you very much, Prabhuji, for joining for today's class. Actually, it was just 2 days before I had informed you, so you had taken your time and be part of spoke for all of the group. Thank you so much. Yes, we will try to, if possible, we'll try to have classes from you more often. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna to everyone. Please continue your book reading of Bhagavad Gita and chanting sessions, and they will be relishing more and more nectar in future. Bhakti is amazing. Okay? Hari Bol.
Hare Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.